Welcome back. My guest is Kim Karish, the CEO of Nashville Adult Literacy Council, an organization that teaches adults to read, as well as adult immigrants, the English language. And volunteers, you are made up of volunteers, people who want to help folks learn how to read, who want to help folks learn the English language. Talk about your wonderful volunteers.
It is such a rewarding volunteer experience, and we could not do this without the 500 people who come and say that I want to help. And so we have 2 volunteer opportunities. There's one that we call Start Now, and this is for students waiting to get matched up with a permanent tutor. And so as a volunteer, you come in, we give you a lesson plan. You take about 10 minutes to read over it, and then your student arrives and you get to work with that student individually for an hour. Now you might have a different student every time that you come in, and that's a wonderful cultural experience for you here in Nashville to get to experience all the different kinds of people in Nashville. In addition to that, we have another volunteer program called One-on-One, and in that volunteer program you get matched up with one student. You work with them for the next 6 months, and so you really get to experience their progress week over week, and it's a lot of fun too. In that program you can meet in any public place in Nashville, and so when I worked with my student, we did a whole lesson on vocabulary around grocery store words, and then at our next lesson we went to a grocery store and practiced the English right there. So it was such a cool experience.
I was going to say the experience alone and just how you're helping these people has to be so thrilling and so rewarding. If people wanted to sign up to be a volunteer, are there certain criteria or qualifications?
The 2 biggest things that I say is that I ask that you come with patience and encouragement. Everything else we can provide for you. You don't need to have been a teacher. You don't have to use perfect grammar. We will provide those tools for you. But if you can be an encourager, then you would be an exceptional volunteer for the Nashville Adult Literacy Council.
Absolutely. An encourager is so very, very important. Is there a graduation point? Is there a point where the volunteer, where the student realizes, you know what, maybe I've gone as far as I can go? How does that come about, and is there any sort of ceremonial process with that?
It depends on what the student's goals are, and so sometimes we'll have a student say, I've accomplished my goal for right now, and then if they set a new goal in the future, they might come back to us. And so we don't have a graduation per se. We try to make it an individual experience where we're tailoring it to every person's needs.
For those folks who are coming to you wanting to learn the English language, there's so many people from so many different countries. How do you match volunteers up with them?
We do it on a few different factors. One is geographically, because we know that Nashville traffic is a thing. So we try to match people who are close to each other, but then also based on interests and skill levels and things like that.
Okay, because is there a process where the students will come to you and they have to pick out books, they have to go home, they have to do homework? Is this like going to a school?
It is, except it's a school that is specifically tailored to what you want to learn.
Okay.
And so if you're having trouble reading your bills, if you're wanting to apply for a new job, that's the vocabulary that we'll help you with. Those are the skills that we'll help you with. In fact, there was one man who got his high school diploma, and one day he came back to keep working on his next goals, and he was so excited. He said there was a sale at a grocery store and all of their books were $1, and he looked at the books and he found The Notebook, and it was his favorite movie with his wife. And he said, my wife is always telling me that the book is better than the movie, and I'm gonna find out.
Oh, I love that. You know, it's so interesting you should say that, because often the spouses don't even know that the other one cannot read.
We worked with a student, his wife didn't know for the first 5 years of their marriage, and we've worked with a number of students who are so appreciative of their spouses, and we've had people come in and say, I've never been able to write a love letter to my wife, and it breaks their hearts. And so if that's what their goal is, we'll start right there.
You meet these folks where they need it most.
That's right.
As you said, if that's a grocery store, they need to learn how to read a shopping list, things that most of us take for granted. And you have seen, what, 1,000 people come through every year?
We work with 1,000 people a year, and this organization has been in existence for 37 years. You can only imagine the stories and the number of lives that have been transformed through this work. It's an honor. It's a true honor to get to do it.
For folks who cannot read, how do they typically find out about you?
A lot of it's word of mouth. It might be referral through another nonprofit. Sometimes they'll go to a program where they're working on their high school equivalency and they don't quite have the reading level to be able to be successful, and so that program would refer them to us. But typically they've got their own goals in mind.
This is an organization, if you're going to volunteer for something, that would be incredibly rewarding. What would someone need to do to sign up to become a volunteer?
Yeah, it's really easy. You can reach out to us directly. Our email address is info@nashvilleliteracy.org.
Wonderful. It has been so wonderful to have you here today. We so often take being able to read for granted, and that's something that we need to stop and think about whenever we pick up a book and start to read. Thank you so much for the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'd also like to thank my earlier guest for being here, Amna Osman, who's the new CEO of Nashville Cares, and thank you so much for watching. I'm Tawanda Coleman, and I'll see you next time right here on The Plus Side of Nashville.